If you have herpes and you're struggling with telling people that you have herpes, I need you to stay here and listen to this short lesson. All right, let's get into it. I want to teach you about the mind real quick. We receive 2 million bits of information per second. Yes, per second. And we are receiving this information through streams such as sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. This is way too much information to pay attention to consciously. Okay, if you're sitting down in a restaurant and you're hearing all the conversations going around you, the conversations at your table, the waitress moving back and forth, and the people coming into the restaurant, right? You're it's too much to consciously pay attention to. So what the unconscious mind starts to do is filter the information and figure out what's important for you to know and what's not important for you to know. And it does this through three different types of brain filters, right? There's deletion, distortion, and generalization. An example of deletion is right now, I bet you're not even paying attention to the sensation you're having in your right foot or the temperature of your left hand. And if you are, you're only paying attention to that. It's because I brought it up right now at this second. But before that, you were paying attention to what I was saying, right? So the brain was deleting the sensation you was having in your foot and the temperature of your hand because you do not need that information right now. It's kind of like if something bad happens to you, you start to focus on all the bad and you completely forget about all the good. If you're in a relationship and your partner does something wrong, it's easy to spill negativity at that partner and completely forget all the good in the relationship because you're hyper focused on the bad. So your brain starts to delete all the good and focus in on the bad. Let's keep going. Distortion. These are when things are not always what we perceive them to be or we assume them to be. So if you hear a sound in the house, immediately you might think, what's that? Is there an intruder in the home? Your heart might start to race. You might get super silent to hear what else is going on in the house. And you finally realize that it was just the water heater making the normal noise that it always makes. But you're still kind of alert. So you want to get up out the bed and check everything out just to feel an extra sense of security. Or if you're going on a nature walk and you know that there's a lot of unknown things in the woods and you might run into a bear or you might run into a snake and you start your hike and a tree branch hits your foot, but automatically you think it's a snake and your heart starts to race and it takes you a few seconds to realize that it's not a snake and it's only a tree branch. That's one way the brain starts to filter the information through distortion. Then there's generalization, right? We take information, simplify it, and apply it to every other situation that seems like the first one. So if your neighbor next door went into the woods behind your home and got eaten by a bear, it's normal for you to start avoiding woods after that because you don't want to be eaten by the bear, even though there's no guarantee that you walking in the woods will automatically get you eaten by the bear. Another example is they did an experiment of a door and they put the hinges on the same side as the door handle and it was trying to get people to open the door. And our brains make this generalization that all doors open the same way. So people are tugging and pulling and they give up and they say that it's impossible, the door won't open. And their brain never gave them a chance to try the other side because they made a generalization about doors. What's positive about generalization is that once you learn something, you don't have to learn it again. But the downside of generalization is that we think things are always what they were in the past, and sometimes we get stuck in behaviors that are no longer useful. Think about our herpes diagnosis, right? You had beliefs about people living with lifelong STDs before you were the person living with lifelong STDs and you take on these belief systems, you start to identify with these belief systems. You make a generalization about yourself, and it's not useful to you feeling better. It's not useful for you breaking your own internalized stigma. It's not useful for you feeling confident when you talk about herpes. Let's keep going. This leads me into internal representation. If you go into a disclosure sharing your sad story, telling your sad story, it's hard for the other person not to associate sadness and bad things with the fact that you have herpes. But if you go into the disclosure feeling empowered and confident, the other person starts to associate your power and your confidence with your status, unconsciously dissociating it with negative stigma. The behavior you demonstrate when you feel good delivers better results than the behavior you demonstrate when you're feeling bad, low, and miserable. So shoulders slouch, head down, completely defeated. This highlights the importance of you making sure that your internal representation is appropriate for you to perform the behavior that you need to get you to your desired results. Example. If someone looks at you a certain way and use a certain tone of voice with you that in the past you generalize that behavior as them being angry, right? You start to get angry inside. You create this internal representation of anger that will put you in an emotional state that probably will not be optimal in handling that situation. So think about how you are handling your disclosures. Are you going into your herpes disclosures completely defeated and expecting positive results? Or have you done the work to accept herpes for yourself, right? We can't ask people to accept things that we haven't accepted for ourselves. We can't ask someone to feel confident moving forward with us if we don't even feel confident about ourselves. We can't expect other people to feel safe if we haven't learned and felt safe within ourselves, provided safety within ourselves. Are you following me? If disclosure is bothering you, if you fear having to tell somebody that you have herpes, it is a clear sign that you haven't addressed some of your belief systems and thoughts and went on a journey of acceptance for self yet. And it's vital that you take a break from dating and learn how to do that, so that disclosure doesn't seem like this daunting thing and you're not recreating responses that you don't necessarily desire. My acceptance journey, I attract different people because I accept my virus. People see me, they see my light, they see my confidence. They're attracted to the self-acceptance. They're attracted to the self-love. They're attracted to the work that I needed to do in order to get me here. I get different results and different responses from people due to my own internal representation when it comes to my herpes virus. I am a herpes life coach. A lot of this work I do with my clients. This is just a short lesson. If you listen in, let me know in the comment section if any of this resonates, or do I need to Barney style it some more if it was too difficult to understand.